to our final session today, everyone, at the Dubai Expo 2020, live at the Malaysia Pavilion. That's right, in Dubai itself. It has been a very, very interesting 4 days. And in the next 30 seconds, it's about to get even more interesting because we're about to talk about the topic, Malaysia, your global innovation partner. Why should you come to Malaysia and invest and expand your business? Here to tell us a bit more about that topic is three esteemed speakers, two on my right, one on my left. I'll start on the individual on my right in terms of explaining who this wonderful person is, and then followed by the next speaker, followed by the final speaker. On my right is Miss, or Puan as we say in Malaysia, Hazami Habib, who is currently serving as the Chief Executive Officer of the Academy of Sciences Malaysia, aka ASM, a think tank body focusing on science, technology, and innovation policies and strategy projects. Puan of an amount of more than 700 STI experts in Malaysia. What a huge responsibility. Puan joined ASM in 1996. In her years at the Academy, she has been involved in several national and international level studies and programs such as the National Astronaut Program, National Science Challenge, ASEAN, and Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation meetings. She is the chair of Science, Technology, and Innovation Committee in APAC Policy Partnership on Science, Technology, and Innovation from the year 2017 to the year 2020. Her areas of interest and expertise are STEM, talent development, policy, strategic science communication, foresight, science diplomacy, and governance. Puan Hazami, thank you so much for being with us here today. And the man on my far right is the hardest working man today because his first session, he started as a speaker this morning, and then he came in as a moderator. And right now, very shortly, he's going to be a subject matter expert. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the man with the CREST. That's right. That is Jaffri Ibrahim, who is the CEO and founder of CREST, which stands for Collaborative Research in Engineering, Science, and Technology. Mr. Jaffri began his career as an entrepreneur that built an information service in the Klang Valley in 1986. He later joined Oracle Corporation Malaysia in 1990 as a consultant in the professional services organization. He started his own technology consulting business in 1994, focusing on the oil and gas sector. Prior to joining CREST, he was the Vice President of Business and Technology Advisory Division of Malaysia Debt Ventures Berhad, also known as MDV Berhad. That's right, and it's a venture debt company under the Ministry of Finance. So that is Jaffri. I think we all know him on the camera today and at this wonderful day 4 of the event today. So thank you, Jaffri, for your ever hardworking energy, passion, commitment, and enthusiasm to share information. That's what this Dubai Expo is all about, and we are all benefiting from your expertise, wisdom, and most of all, friendship. And the man on my left is Dr. David Lacey, who is the Director of Advanced Development and Services Research and Development for OSRAM Opto Semiconductors Malaysia Sdn Bhd, located in Penang. He has worked for OSRAM Opto Semiconductors for more than 20 years in Germany, the United States of America, and Malaysia in both the organic and inorganic semiconductor fields, and in the roles of ranging from engineering, manufacturing to business. His PhD studies was at Sussex University in the United Kingdom in the area of polymer synthesis and polymer physics. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give our panel a virtual round of applause and a physical round of applause. We have a small crowd right here, but I mean, you know what? We have more, our numbers are showing we have a bigger virtual audience than a physical audience, which is always a positive thing because everybody is watching the good sharing and the network and the information and the communication that is happening right here at Dubai Expo 2020. So a round of applause for our panel. Thank you for clapping for a very, very long time because that gave me a chance to shuffle my papers. Okay, so and get to the questions. That's right. So that's a bit of innovation for you. Get the crowd to clap as long as possible. But a lot of people have been clapping all week long, not just physically, but virtually as well because of the sharing that is happening right here at Dubai Expo. So the first question, and I'm going to start with Puan. Tell us about the RDIC landscape of Malaysia and how it is part of the STIE ecosystem, which will be driven by 1010 My STIE framework and the National Policy of Science, Technology, and Innovation from 2021 to 2030. We'll start with you, Puan, and then we'll go to Doctor, and then after that, Jaffri, please.
Thank you, and thank you. For the STIE landscape in Malaysia, we are a bit unique when compared with other countries because researchers in Malaysia Almost 80% is from the Institute of Higher Learning. Then how we spend our R&D? We spend more on applied and basic. We don't spend enough on experimental. So under this RMK12, I'm very glad to hear government is moving up the percentage and target to have at least 50% of experimental development. So that is the landscape. Knowing that, so the 1010 MSTE mooted by Academy Science is to bridge this broken bridge between the academia and industry, to the commercialization, to take up all the knowledge and to be translated into products and services. So with this 1010 MSTIE, we are bringing in the 10 emerging technologies that can uplift at least 10 socioeconomic sector that we want to focus in the next 5 to 10 years. So we hope with this 1010, this is a framework, it's a tool. A company can use it, government can use it, agencies, even small companies, startups, for them to plan on how to have a good research that have a wow factor. You see, world class, taking up the opportunity, and it's a winnable. That means give impact back to the people, to the industry, to have a good ROI. So we hope with this framework, it gives some sort like a guidance for them to have, to see what are the 8I ecosystem building blocks for innovation. So now government is bridging up all the gaps, addressing all the gaps to ensure we have an agile ecosystem for us to move innovation in the country for the next 5 to 10 years. And we already have 30 niche area. We put it as a Malaysian grand challenges that we want to put forward. So we're looking forward to have partners nationally or internationally to push this area, to come up with a good proposal of R&D for us to push it to the next level. So that is brief ecosystem of STI.
Yes, that's right. And well explained. And before we go further, I just want to use that word, collaborate on that word, explain. I mean, I say collaborate, work with all of you, because again, we really do apologize, everybody, if we are speaking in another language. It is very easy just to presume that just because we are all part of the Cradle family, we are all part of the ecosystem of business, science, technology, and innovation under the MOSTI, Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation, Ministry of Malaysia, that it is very, well, wouldn't be super respectful of us to presume that everybody knows all the acronyms. So just to, I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, the STIE is Science, Technology, Innovation, and Economy. That's right. And also RDCIE is the Malaysian Research Development, Commercialization, and Innovation and Economy. So when we refer to those acronyms, we will be referring to those particular terms. And it is, because it is a little bit of a mouthful to say those words one by one. So we'll be referring to my STIE and RDCIE. So, Dr. Lacey, what's your views on the question about the landscape of Malaysia?
I think the idea of putting in place this clarity about what to support, which areas of technology, which applications, is really helpful for international companies which are thinking of coming into Malaysia, or even local companies which are thinking of going in a new direction or starting up. It gives some clarity about what the country thinks is important, and it enables especially international companies to engage and speak this language you talk about, right? Because it is difficult to connect and make clear the technology you're working on, how that addresses the needs of Malaysia or the national needs. So by clarifying these things and laying them out, it helps, I think, international investors and even local companies recognize and get clear the thing that we want to do fits in that box. And, and that's a great way to start the conversation and get things moving. So it's valuable for that. And if I look back, similar activities over the last 10 years or so certainly helped my particular company and the electronics industry generally by putting certain areas of technology on the radar as being the things which the government wanted to push and support. So I think it's a good clarifier, especially for internationals.
Fantastic. Now, well explained, because look, everyone, we don't want to sound like too intellectual snobs. No disrespect, because I had 3 intellectuals next to me, but we want to keep it quite simple, because like Dr. Lacey said, if we keep it simple, then the conversations flow, doesn't it, Doctor? And then that collaboration becomes easy, because we want the collaboration from the world to Malaysia to come and people to see, or investors to see, entrepreneurs to see, startups to see that, okay, Malaysia, this is a good spot. So, Jaffri, tell us about the lay of the land of Malaysia from your point of view.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Okay, I guess we started off alternate to a holistic roadmap. And I think CREST being a collaborative platform, we started off by engaging at the ground level, the companies and where are they headed. And I think it is a useful, and I'm glad Puan Hazami and Dr. Lacey says, it's a communication tool. And it's important to communicate what the country wants and what where we're heading. But the CREST model is really more the ground up model. So what's important for the companies almost at the near term, and we have to work with that. And it becomes a check and balance, I believe, with a holistic view to say, are we heading the right way? Are the companies doing what they want to do? Is the country also trying to design and define things that are important to them? And it's okay if it differs, because it's, again, a way of us now comparing to say, maybe we're creating something unique for the country and we need to put in resources to drive that uniqueness. And that's a good thing. And it could be different from a company's perspective.
True.
And they would want to drive it in a different way. So the CREST approach and the country's approach actually can work well together as a check and balance.
No.
in my view.
And you said it very nicely. If I could summarize what you said very nicely, it's about benchmarking, isn't it? And then, like, let's say, okay, that's the level we want to get at. We may not agree with how, in terms of what that, it's good to agree for what that benchmark is, but I suppose the interesting part, like communication, and sometimes it's a bit disruptive, but sometimes it's a bit positive, that, okay, let's talk about the journey to get there. So let's talk about the journey to get there. And Jaffri, I'll stay with you and then I'll go to Puan on this. And then with this, Dr. Lacey, I have another question for you straight after that. Because when it comes to research and development, we all use those two words, let's be honest, to death. R&D. I need R&D. I've got money for D, but I don't have money for R. Okay, but at the end of the day, it's about innovation and the commercialization and monetizing that information. So this area has always been part of the Malaysia's National Strategic Socio-Economic Development Blueprint, aka the 12th Malaysia Plan. So basically, can you kindly elaborate further on how this has always been part of Malaysia's agenda and action plan? Because I'm always, the words that a very famous managing director always said to me once upon a time, he said, strategy is great, but at the end of the day, it's just words on a piece of paper.
Thank you. Yeah, that is why I think working with the industry, you have to have that pinpoint accuracy, in a sense that basically industry won't work with you unless there's an outcome. And that outcome gives you the guidance of making things work. And thereby, R&D is fine, and creating IP is great, but if you can't generate enough revenue and outcomes in doing so, then it's not worth doing it. So that again is a way for us to check ourselves, to say, why are we doing something, and whether we are doing it for the sake of creating conversation or IP, and it's just a piece of paper unless you can generate revenue from it. Yeah.
Okay, Puan, now that is the CREST point of view. What is the government science point of view?
Okay, thank you. From the academy perspective, we look around.
Right.
We look around, what are the best practices that we can suggest to the government to tackle this issue. So in 2015, we did this study called New Economic Opportunities. From there, we learned CREST model. Okay, we learned from CREST model.
So
We publish, yes, yes.
Nice to hear that it's working.
Yeah, during that time, even CREST didn't name it as a CREST model. because we're doing it, practicing it. But when we publish it and we present it to the cabinet, and the cabinet said, this is what we want. We want industry to lead brandy, because industry know what's market needs, what demands needs. We want to translate what the research. So we said, okay, why don't we do this beyond E&E? So we propose 4 areas. We propose halal, we propose industry 4.0, fintech, Islamic finance, and also health and wellness. So we are creating the same kind of process or ecosystem, because innovation ecosystem is very fragile, very complex. You cannot control everything. Yeah, because if you control, innovation will not happen. So how to do this and how to replicate the same process? Because we see CREST achievement, their commercialization is around 27%. That is high. So I said, how do we replicate this and have this one E&E sector that is successful to other sectors? So we're creating the same thing. We asked CREST to lead another 2 clusters, Industry 4.0 and Health and Wellness. And we create more connector like CREST for other like HDC, Nano Malaysia, INCF, for them to create the same kind of ecosystem. So we hope with that, we can bridge it, use these tools of 1010 MySTIE, and come up with a good world-class research. So that is what we want. That's how we want to create the innovation ecosystem. So that is what we are doing right now.
It's very nice to hear that you both will collaborate together.
Yeah.
The hardest thing that we always speak about in the ecosystem is working together. I mean, a lot of people say can't work together, but it's actually aligning, like you said,
yes,
outcomes, goals, and charter on the right direction. But Dr. Lacey, now you've been in Malaysia for a very long time. Malaysia is basically your home, not just for yourself, but your family as well, not just your career. But tell us about, in your opinion, tell us about the success stories of the National Development Movement in regards to operational and long-term wins. Because we're really trying to tell everybody out there, we do have good stuff here that works, people working together, government, private, moving forward.
I can talk for the electronics industry because that's something I have got some visibility of. And you really see that. So that industry has been present in Malaysia since the 1970s, and it has grown in intensity and complexity over that time, and it's still massively relevant globally. I think it's important to understand that I think something like 15% of the global packaged semiconductors come from Malaysia. That's huge. And that technology continues to get more and more complex. So it's not something which is like a stable manufacturing that just goes on forever. It's something where every few years, all companies need to introduce a new dimension of technology, a new way of manufacturing to stay competitive. And companies have been very successful doing that for all these years, partly because the government is behind and supporting and ensuring that pieces of technology are developed, that there's support for companies which want to introduce something new. It's working. And it's an important thing to build upon, right? So that's an example of where Malaysia has a very strong base and something which is globally important, as has been seen in the last year. It's become a hyper sensitive topic, and Malaysia, for pandemic reasons, has been in the picture for a short time. But as the major producer of semiconductor components, that's something Malaysia needs to build upon with universities, with SME companies, with equipment suppliers, all working together to build next generations of technology. So it has worked and it will continue to work. It's an example of a successful industry embedded for many years, continuously improving.
So it's great to hear that things are working. I'll stay with the next question with you and then one. But let's now talk about the word change. The hardest thing in the world to do, easiest thing in the world to talk about. In particular, how will the local ecosystem, in your opinion, probably prevalent to your industry or other industries if you have an opinion on it, how will the local ecosystem be supercharged through systemic changes over the next decade? I'm asking you to bring out your crystal ball here, so what's your view on that, Dr. Lacey?
There's in our industry, as I just said, everything needs to change every few years. We talked earlier in the day about compound semiconductors, for instance. So everybody needs to develop a next generation of technology. Maybe it's something involving compound semiconductors. Lots of discussions about IoT, lots of discussions about industrial fourth revolution and the like. I was talking to Jaffri this morning, actually. Virtually every innovation you can think of in any area of science and technology has got electronics in it somewhere. Yeah. So electronics is in everything, everywhere. Even if it's a biomedical innovation, the implementation of it in product or in use would often include electronics. So again, Malaysia's in a great place. Sometimes you think that the technologies in Malaysia are a little bit old-fashioned, but actually there's huge granularity required because all these different applications require customized, new combinations of electronic elements. And there's many companies in Malaysia that can help you do that. So looking forward, leveraging the quality of automotive, Malaysia's a major player in automotive, with requirements for IoT, for instance, where you need sensors, CMOS devices, RF devices, for instance, all together. Malaysia's in a great place to put those pieces together because companies working all those technologies are already here, already in production. Part of the thing with innovation is many people, the definition of innovation is that the result has got to have a commercial impact, right? And that last step of getting into production is often the toughest one. You can get very close and never make that final step into production, right? And because Malaysia in the electronics industry has a strong production base, you're in a great situation to make that last step. You've got thousands of people skilled in making that last step. And that's something you can leverage to pick up these new ideas and get them into production and therefore really innovate.
It's always great to see that, the finish line is never there because that's what contributes to your views on change.
Right. So, and we were speaking about this morning. The two common denominators is electronics and software. So those are the two things that you'll see in just about everything that we do. And essentially, those are the two ingredients that I think any nation needs to have a good handle of in order for it to progress. So when it comes to change, I think the electronics industry, it's part of their life. In my 10 years in Penang with CREST, I've seen large companies eat up small companies eating up large companies, and all the different combinations. But essentially, they're all pursuing that end goal that David was talking about, which is where is the client and how do we get to it? I think that is essentially how Malaysia, we need to get better at capturing that part of the business. Yeah.
To me, we have a good footing because we are quite strong in E&E. And what we want to see is the collaboration between E&E sector with other sectors, whereby, as you said just now, E&E cut across all other sectors. If you want to do precision agriculture, you need E&E. You want to do precision medicine, you need E&E. If we can create this co-learning and co-innovate by sectors, we can push all our laggard sectors to the E&E, where they are now preceptors. So that is the change that we need to do, the systemic change for sectors that already success, to push other sectors because there is an opportunity. We are pushing that, but we need to create this ecosystem of co-learning together and co-innovate because we are small.
Yes.
And our researchers is, compared to other countries, we're very small number of researchers. We need to create this co-learning and co-innovate together. That's why we need the 4 quadruple helix to work together, the industry, the academia, the government, and also the civil society. We're not just looking into ROI for industry, we are also looking for impact to the society, for them to have a better quality of life. So these are also objectives that we put into and we suggest to the government. So we have a kind of balance, not just everything for economic, but we also want for societal well-being. If we can have that kind of approach and we have a right partners, we can move forward. So these are things that you can see the gist of the latest planning of the government.
I'll just stay with you on the next question. The next question is the final question before we take some questions from the virtual floor. Okay, and there are one or two questions coming. So, and then I'll go to Jaffri and to David. So, but I mean, you all have all said, I mean, Malaysia, small country, plenty of opportunity, quite strong in the E&E sector. That's our strength, you know. But what is your message to all international investors? Why they should come to Malaysia to invest, apart from the industries that we are strong at? You know, I think a couple of the speakers this week said, there was Kylie Ng who said that we are very, Malaysia is, and Thomas, his panel partner, said a couple of days, yesterday or the day before, that we are very strong in the sense that, you know, we are strong, we're connected to Indonesia, language.
Yes.
You know, we have Malaysian Chinese community who can speak good Mandarin, generally speaking, and Cantonese. So that's a gateway to not just China, but Chinese communities all over the world. Okay, and then we have Malaysian Indian community, which can connect us to not just India, but the Malaysian Indian, in the respective global Indian societies and communities all around the world. Religion of Islam.
Yes.
You know how, you know, when you say the word, when we three are Muslim, we say the word Assalamu alaikum.
Yes.
You know, and it breaks down all barriers. We can have a meal together to the Islamic world. So we have a huge advantage there. But, you know, apart from that, apart from the obvious that we see, pamphlets that we see on the television, that we see on the YouTube channels and the platforms and whatnot, what's your message to, and this could be a personal message, this could be a professional message, or a mixture. What's your message to investors to come to Malaysia to really find out why they say Malaysia is Boleh land?
Okay. The strength of Malaysia is we have few advantage. One, it's just like what Ben said, we are multiracials. So one of the sectors that we would like to push is we want Malaysia to become the clinical trial hubs for vaccines, because we have all Chinese, Indian, Malay, and others. And we are a very good center that we can champion this. So that is one strength that we want to push to the international partners and come and work with us. We also want to focus on developing a vaccine that is halal, okay, because of this pandemic, there is a need to have that. So halal economy is another sector that we would like to push. And all this sector, we can do and replicate the same as what we have done for E&E. So these are a few sectors that we call it blockbuster sectors that we want that we want to focus on, because we know we have strength. We have strength in NE, we have strength in terms of experts, and we have advantage. So with that, I call upon all international partners to work with us in these two areas, and other areas you can check out other areas that we want to focus: fintech and Islamic finance, health and wellness. These are all our focus area that we want to focus, and we have strength, and we have the best universities in Malaysia, researchers, especially in engineering schools. So that is my message to the international partners.
Right, it's a good work-life balance. Talking again about the electronics industry, having worked in different places, I would say the industrial side is as intense as anywhere else. So it's a proper industrial society in that sense. And the reason companies are here, and the reason others should consider it, is Malaysia is a relatively neutral country. We're in a period of regionalization of supply chains, the whole globalization thing appears to have come to some sharp end, and companies still need to find locations where they can expand their business. And Malaysia's relatively neutral and open and supportive of new companies coming in. And when you come into Malaysia, you find a skilled workforce, good language skills. You find a legal system and a whole government system which is well defined, relatively easy to work with. Talking about the legal system, intellectual property protection is good. So if you bring a technology to Malaysia, you're not going to lose control of it, as happens in some countries. Right. So there's some trustworthiness, there's some openness, and importantly, of course, the cost of operation in Malaysia is competitive with other parts of Southeast Asia. So I think it's a great choice. And on top of that, as a place to live, it's also great. So speaking personally, I've traveled around Southeast Asia and I've been to many of those industrial centers. And you look at Malaysia and think, wow, this is actually a very good choice, in terms of, especially if you want an innovation type company where it's not just manufacturing and you really want people to come, the best people in the world to come and join your organization, then Malaysia's a great choice.
Thank you for not going home and setting up home in Malaysia. Jaffri?
Okay. Yeah. Apart from all that that has been said, I think I saw a very interesting statistic maybe a day ago, where it said that 60% of the entire population of the world lives in Asia. 60% of the entire population of the world lives in Asia. And Malaysia is right smack in the center, where we've got the potpourri of culture. And we're about 3 hours of flight away from billion population, countries with billion population. And somehow we've made it to work well in one place where the food is intermingling and where people live together, harmoniously. And I think it is a great place for you to go to in order for you to start something, whatever you want. From a technology standpoint, the ecosystem is tremendously good for companies who want to start on ideas. We ourselves have an incubator at CREST where people can go to. People with experience or without experience can try out their ideas. It's a short throw away from all the big boys, for example, for you to try and tap. So that's something that I think is worthwhile to consider.
Nice. Well, this is a very interesting question that's coming online right now. If anybody physically here has any questions, please put your hand up. More than happy to share your questions with our panel. That's what it's all about, really. This is a good question. Now, this person is a real entrepreneur. I'm not sure who this person is, but this question is a very good question in the sense that you've both spoken about Malaysia's strengths. Culture, we've all highlighted that in all our sound bites. But what about the rising opportunities, not the developing markets? So where is that? Because I mean, this person said, "What happens if I'm not from the end?" Can all of you attempt to answer that question?
Okay. I'll try. Give it my best shot. Like both Dr. Lacey and me, I think you might not be in E&E, but there's a convergence of where electronics and software can come into play, and you can bring your best foot forward into what that can be. So you could be an entrepreneur that has an idea on fintech, for example, or whatever it may be, or how to solve a legal problem. But in this day and age, it's not about being good at that particular field. It's how do you bring the multiple media, the medium, to enable that opportunity and to reach out to the world. So it's got to be software and perhaps some electronics in there somewhere. So leverage.
To say that what if if this person is not in E&E, what will happen? That's why if he can go and search under our 1010 Master E, please download from our website. Then you can see there are another 30 niche area that we have identified. To name a few, energy storage is one sector that we want to explore. Another one is precision medicine. Circular economy is something that everybody is looking into. Even in E&E, how do you have the circular economy embed into the industry, into the sectors? So these are things that opportunity that we are opening up. If you see MOSTI, they give this strategic research grant, maximum 15 million ringgit, for them to come up with a good research proposal. So if we can have this kind of platform and tap good ideas for other sectors using electronic software or anything that can update and uplift some good disruptive innovation, then it opens. That you go and see the Malaysian Grand Challenges. We have 30 niche area. You can look at it, and we are looking into 10 socioeconomic. If you can do that, I think it's really matched with the SDG. It's really what international and global needs, the solutions. And it's open, the grant is open. You can just apply it, all young innovators, and collaborate with our researchers, with our industry and others. And we are looking forward for good ideas.
I was given a message by our production team in Malaysia to hold the mic up presumptuously that I have a loud voice, but obviously not that loud. So I need technology. I need E&E to electronics here to boom the Malaysian voice out there.
Yeah.
But Doctor, I mean, your views on the question.
Maybe I'm being a bit simplistic, but just imagine you're an innovator and you have some new technology which you want to manufacture, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's something medical, maybe it's some lifestyle device or whatever. If you want to manufacture it, you need to find a place where you can find a whole range of skills to run your business, right? It's not just the technical thing for your particular product. It's you need to run a business. You need logistics people, you need quality people, you need finance people, whatever. And in Malaysia, you'll find professionals in all of those disciplines. So you can very quickly find a place, assemble a team, and get your product into the market, and therefore really innovate. So there's a large pool of professional skilled people in all the disciplines required to bring a product to market. And you can leverage that and use that for whatever new business you have.
Thank you very much. Well answered. Thank you for sharing that. We have about 12 minutes left, so we have some time. Is there anybody from the physical floor that would like to ask some questions? Okay. Okay, whenever I ask that question, people look to the floor. So I think for now, that means I'll come back to you. So this is another question here that will come from virtually.
Yes, I can just add just one more thing.
You
from
can
the
add as
previous
many
one.
things as possible. That's what we're here for.
Okay.
Don't
So-
worry about time. If we go over 12 minutes, it's okay. Okay.
All right. So the one thing that Puan Hazami mentioned about the 10 by 10 STIE roadmap, I had a quick look, and essentially there's one portion of the document where somebody made an attempt to basically map out the entire country and some of the strengths in that particular region, and how somebody, an entrepreneur, somebody who's got a need to want to do something, they can look at that map for suggestions on things that they can do in Pahang or in Sabah or in Perlis, because the strength in that area is of a certain nature, and perhaps a certain technology can be applied there, and they can come to organizations like mine to say, who can I pair up with, which university or which company, and we can sort of point them in the right direction for them to basically work together and perhaps come back to us, and we'll see how we can support them.
Okay, so there's no questions from the physical floor just yet. There is a question from the virtual floor, and this question is targeted at one, but I would let Dr. and Jaffri answer as well, because again, we are sharing opinions here and we are sharing thoughts. Now, Puan, you mentioned that, this person is saying that you mentioned that that we have very good universities in Malaysia. And it sounds like, from what you're saying, that there's a connection between academia and industry. I think that's a challenge for all academics to try to make it relevant to what's going on in industry. So tell us about the connection. This question is telling us about the connection between academia, private sector, public sector, in terms of trying to achieve what Jaffri said, outcomes.
Thank you. This is where we try to apply, I call it CREST model. We bring in industry, we bring in academia, we bring in civil society and government, and we form as a founding members of that cluster. We need many, many clusters. So we are focusing on 4 clusters right now. For example, halal. So we have HDC as a neutral entity playing a role, what CREST playing a role is, and then bringing in all the company that can do traceability in halal industry. So they will broadcast the problems, and then let the academia and the industry talk together and come up with proposals. This is where the industry will match the fund with the government fund. So we share the risk, we share the responsibility. And with that, the possibilities for that research to achieve impact is higher. And we would like to replicate this. That's why if under the new government policy, we want a central agency to play this role and monitor it. We want to call it Technology Commercialization Accelerator. So with that, we want to have many, many clusters. And with that, you bind to the founding members, the academia, the government, the industry, and civil society to work together. In that way, use the 1010 MSTIE as the framework to bridge, because scientists talk different language, industry talk different language. Sometimes the visions and the shared vision need to be built up by all these 4 corporate for them to go towards what they want to achieve. So somebody need to choreograph this. And this is where we see the uniqueness of what CREST have been doing for 8 years more. So they choreograph it and they negotiate with the industry, the academia, for them to understand and agree on the same page of what research they want to do. That is the collaborative, the real collaborative network that we want. If we can create that, then there is no problem between academia and industry. They are talking to each other. So we are doing this as a pilot, but we hope with this approach, we can erase this myth of, there is a gap between the academia and the industry. We need to create that ecosystem. Thank you.
Fair enough, fair enough. Dr. Lacey, your opinion?
I think this is one of the things that CREST has been a fantastic success at. I think just globally, academics are a little bit worried about working with industry because they fear that the industry's problems are too small, too insignificant, not scientifically valid, I don't know what. But I think what CREST has shown is these problems which industry brings often require research and scientific solutions. So this is not just a question of filling a gap in a known technology. This is a question of helping a company find a new solution to a problem. And what we see is that the academics understand then what industry's problems really are. And from that, they can start to research and publish and even develop chunks of technology which might spin out in some way or something like that. So it's been a bit of a journey, but now we have a situation where various university groups are now eager to work with industry because they now recognize that those nuggets of problem in there, if you can work on those, there's real value coming out the other end, because you might be able to translate that into a new product. You might be able to translate that into some license revenue or something like that. And that's a much more impactful thing for the university to do than to sit back in the ivory tower trying to guess what the world's problems are, right? So engaging with industry, these problems may initially seem trivial, but often. They are technically deep and require real research, and that starts the academic teams in new directions they hadn't considered. And I think CREST has got some good success stories there.
Yep.
Well, I was just about to say, Jaffri should be given an award because based on this conversation, because he's like the superhero that is, really, really resolving all the challenges and issues out there. But again, yeah, Dr. Lacey took the word out of my mouth, took the words out of my mouth, success stories. Please share what CREST has done to really balance out the ecosystem.
Right. So well, the award, first of all, goes to the participants. We're the orchestrator. So the participants made it happen, and we helped bring them together and to communicate the problem and drive to the result. But that's an important role, I believe. Yeah. So I love to tell the success story that I keep going back to is Prof. Zaidi, a USM lecturer. Back in 2012, when we first started, he was pure academic. He didn't have anything to do with industry, but we managed to get him on board on a particular problem that Motorola Solutions had, which was, and Motorola sold two-way radios all over the world, and it's a global market. And the problem that they had was that if they're in an environment where there's heavy wind, the wind noise would disturb the conversation. Now, the problem was posted to USM and Prof. Zaidi. How can you solve that? So he actually went into the fluid dynamics and so on, and redesigned the mouthpiece, and it became the solution that became part of a global rollout, even up to today. So and after realizing that he achieved something that was part of a global rollout, he was a changed man. So he became suddenly he became an entrepreneur. He started his own website. He started selling his services. Nice. And he got quite a number of good clients beyond Motorola. So he's a changed person, and that's what we love to see.
Now, a final question before we wrap it up. It's almost 5 o'clock. Time flies when. A question from Facebook. Oh, you all are popular. What? Oh, okay. Let me just open my electronic device. Telco device, really. And is it on WhatsApp? Okay, hold on here. Hold on. All right, this question is for, Hayatun Shamila. Okay, Hayatun, Assalamualaikum. Thanks for joining us. This is the question to the panel, and I'll get Dr. Lacey to lead it. Lead it in the sense to start first. In your opinion, how are Malaysian SMEs and large companies such as GLCs doing now in terms of pushing the commercialization of universities' R&D outputs so the knowledge are translated for economic development and societal well-being, aka knowledge transfer? Doctor?
I think there's some good examples. As we said, it's difficult to get things through the chain, and it takes time. And the majority of the experience in Malaysia is hardware, which normally takes longer. But again, having an organization like CREST, or even with a government focus on making sure universities are connected with industry, at least there's a channel there. If I go back to when I was first in Malaysia 15, 20 years ago, there wasn't a great linkage there. And even if a university group had some innovation or idea which would impact Malaysia or a certain area of technology, there was very little of a channel to actually do something with that. And I think that situation's changed a great deal. So if a university group has something which they want to commercialize. I think there's always been an opportunity for them to spin out and do something on their own. But I think in addition to that now, there's an opportunity to engage with an existing small, medium company or even a large company in some form of have manufactured or joint venture sense to get something out into the market. And I would personally encourage people to consider that second option, because although startup has always got lots of romantic, positive thoughts around it, it's a tough life to do it all on your own. And it's maybe smarter to take it to an existing company who can help you translate your prototype or ideas into product and get it out into the market before someone else does. So I think there's a network now, there's a connection now, and I think SMEs and even large companies are certainly open to do that. And again, CREST, we have some examples of that.
I think sharing the responsibility of creating new products and innovations cannot be done by one person. So small, medium enterprises or LLC, if you know landscape of small, medium enterprises, 98.2% is SMEs. Out of 98.2, only around 27,000 that is based on high tech. The rest are trades, services. So looking at this kind of landscape, most of our SME don't have the capacity to have their own R&D arm. So they need to reach out if they want to upgrade, add value to their product and services. Vice versa, university have to get out from their ivory tower and start to reach out to them. So this is where I think we need to have the network, just like what Dr. Lacey is mentioning. And this network has to be played by public enterprises. Yeah, government public like Cradles, MTDCs, CREST, all have to play this role and connect them and bring them together. Some of them, they don't know where to go. They don't know where to go, how to get help, and they're struggling on their own. So we need to help them. Even some of them need just a simple graduates in science in certain area, but they don't have the capacity to hire them. So we have this project of RISE and the MOSTI that's sending scientists 1 year or 2 year, having this program at the industry and try to transform the industry, the SMEs, the LLC. So these are things that we're trying to reach out, but not knowing how to get there and not knowing how to connect. So I plead all the public enterprises that plays a very important and unique role to connect all these LLC SMPs and then bring them. This is why you see now Malaysian government have this My Startup roadmaps. We have a lot of other roadmaps, and the most you have 11 roadmaps. Okay, all these roadmaps is to teach us and direct us where to go. And we hope communication go trickle down to the ground and they understand what is it. Not just in Malaysia, internationally, because we need to collaborate globally. We cannot do alone, see? So that is the way forward. So I hope with this kind of networks, initiative, non-stop of communications and reaching out, we can reach out to the SMEs and LLCs. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm just reminded of that one incident where we visited a prominent university, and they were proud to say, well, we've done so many things and it's so close to being commercialized. And we kind of we told them, perhaps can we invite some of the industry guys to come in and to do some kind of benchmark, yeah? To do some benchmarks to see really, are you close to being commercialized or not? And sure enough, when the bunch of industry guys came in, so really in commercialization, there's TRL, technology readiness level, 1 to 9, and 9 being very close to being commercialized, and 1 not so ready. So many of them rated their products to being very close to 9. But when the industry came in, they said, well, no, it's actually 6, 5. Reality check. So really, like what Dr. Lacey was saying, is this romantic idea of inventing something and wanting to carry it through to the market. It's a nice idea, but perhaps in this day and age, you want to collaborate. You want to bring in an industry partner that gives you that check and balance early in where you are at, so
What
that
Dr. Lacey was speaking about. You know,
yes,
like,
so early and therefore be realistic and get help and be supported as you go forward.
look, so this panel has been a wonderful, insightful session. We could talk about this until, well, our next flight, which is in the next 48 hours back to
Exactly.
Malaysia. But, you know, because it's a super topic that, you know, we can talk about various angles,
Right.
various industries, various opportunities,
Right.
and also various challenges. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
Malaysia, we are a great country, but, you know, we have challenges like the world is going through at the moment, but we bounce back, resilience, and like every startup and ecosystem and academic out there, we bounce back and move forward. Well, the last question that I have for you is, how would you sum up if someone was to come up to you and say, why should I, in what, you can choose one word or two words, why should I choose Malaysia as my global innovation partner? What would be your one or two word answer be, Jaffri?
Okay, agility. I think access to talent that is agile.
Flexibility. Saying we need that.
And readiness. I think Malaysia's ready to do that.
So I have agility, I have flexibility, and I have readiness. And I'm gonna borrow a word from Dr. Lacey, always ready. Okay, always ready. So agility, flexibility, readiness, and always ready. And I broke the rule. I'm sorry, I'm the moderator. I went two words, not one. Okay, so look, ladies and gentlemen, from the physical floor right here at the Dubai Expo 2020 at the Pavilion Building, please give our panel a big round of applause. Miss Hazami Habib, or one Hazami Habib, Jaffri Ibrahim, Jaffri. Dr. David, it's been a pleasure to have you, and we look forward to continuing the conversations, because at the end of the day, it's about connection, is about conversations. Conversations leads to plans and execution, and then blueprints and all of the above. We look forward to working with all three of you. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of day 4 of the Dubai Expo 2020, right here at the Pavilion Building, the Malaysian Pavilion Building in Dubai. We look forward to connecting with you tomorrow for day 5 for this wonderful event. Dubai Expo, have a great day wherever you are around the world, and we'll catch you tomorrow, fresh and early and always ready to connect and communicate right here, Dubai Expo 2020.